I'm sure you're aware of the Nancy Pelosi stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
It's wild.
It is. And look, I think this is one of the good things about social media is, of course, the mainstream corporate media is hardly covering it at all. But because of social media, things like that are spreading like wildfire, like, hey, Paul Pelosi is doing these trades within this period of time of Nancy Pelosi voting on this bill or bringing a bill to the floor, because we've got to remember, Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, nothing happens without her knowing about it or giving her stamp of approval. So regardless of whether it's happening in the Judiciary Committee or the Commerce Committee or the Armed Services Committee, if there's a bill coming to the floor and there's major legislation that's being passed or is being squashed, that is happening with her say-so. And so just in these last few days, once people started making noise saying, hey, you as a member of Congress or your spouse or your adult child should not be allowed to conduct insider trading on issues that Congress is dealing with, which really covers every issue under the spectrum. They can't pretend anymore that they haven't been doing it. And yet, even as Nancy Pelosi is like, okay, fine, we'll draft legislation. But Congress is about to take a break as they head into the general elections. And once again, she's refusing to bring the bill to the floor for a vote, saying, oh, well, we're not going to bring it to the floor if it doesn't have support. Put people on the freaking spot. Make them cast that vote.
That is the last thing she wants.
Right before the election.
Lose that honey pot. She doesn't, first of all, she doesn't want it becoming a big, important thing that people are talking about.
Yeah.
Where people start, excuse me. Where people start looking at it and say, oh, well, how much money have you made?
Yeah.
Like, why are you worth $200 million? That's crazy. You make $200,000 a year. You're worth $200 million. Like, what's going on? And you look at, like, Paul Pelosi's stock, like, what his record is. He's better than Warren Buffett and George Soros, who are like wizards.
Yeah, exactly.
Those guys are the best. He's better than them.
Yep.
But it's 100% insider trading. If you think about what they put Martha Stewart away in jail for, that's nothing. Yeah. That's nothing compared to what she's doing.
And she's not the only one, obviously.
No.
There are, and this is where, the quote unquote uniparty in Washington has been blocking this kind of legislation from being passed because they're both benefiting from it. We had, I think, there are Republican and Democrat senators in the lead up towards COVID who knew about it, right, and started making different investments in as we were approaching it, even before the rest of the country knew about it, so that they could profit financially from it. Just absolutely disgusting.
It's crazy. It's just crazy that it's legal.
Yeah.
It's really egregious, and it's shocking how complicit the mainstream media is in ignoring it. Like, do you think that there's some discussion, or is it just an understanding that you'll lose access to these people if you highlight this? Like, why are they not covering that?
It's like this chummy insiders club in Washington. And, a common term that's being used now is called permanent Washington, which really fits when you think about it, because it kind of encapsulates that whole swampy ecosystem of both those who've been elected into positions, those who are longtime appointed or powerful bureaucrats, and the corporate media. They all go out to the same parties, the same social functions, passing information to each other. And so, if the anchor of a big time news show says, hey guys, guess what? Nancy Pelosi and her husband are insider trading, then they have to think about, oh, well, am I burning a bridge? Am I cutting off access to, information that she or her staff might be feeding me that I can break news on, and all this stuff. So, it's like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And if you start pissing off certain people, then you get kicked out of the cool kids club. That's really what's at the heart of it. And so they play along, because this issue's come up before. It came up years ago. Congress said, okay, we're going to take action to stop insider trading and make sure that elected leaders aren't benefiting off of insider information. And so they passed the Stock Act, which did nothing. Essentially, it just said, okay, if you are going to trade in stocks or buy or sell stocks, you have to report it. You have to be transparent about it. Most of Congress has failed to do even that. So it did nothing to stop it. Says you just got to tell us. And most people are like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you anyway.
And there's no repercussions.
And there's no well, they might get like $100 fine, $200 fine. Ooh. As they make millions in their trade. So, again, it's good. This is kind of like one of those things that should give us all a glimmer of hope, where if enough people, we the people, make noise about it, they're forced to pay attention.